Alright everybody, how we doing today? Ready to hear why free college is actually probably a bad idea? Yeah, you're probably not ready, but you're going to hear me say it anyway. Yes, sir, but I will also have a solution at the end of it, so I have two articles to talk about. Both from Reason, Free Minds and Free Markets. It says, Michael Gomez, 22, has wanted to work on cars since he was a kid. Just like his father and grandfather, he fixed up and sold his first used car when he was 14. It felt really good to build something up and sell it for profit, says Gomez. Oh my god, he's a filthy capitalist! But his teachers conditioned him to equate a college degree with success, so he enrolled at the University of California, Irvine, with a plan to major in mechanical engineering during his sophomore year. Gomez dropped out because he realized that he was on the wrong path. Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Elizabeth Warren have promised that if elected, they'll make public college tuition free and wipe clear federal student loan debt, which in the U.S. tops $1.5 trillion. Their claim is that making college universal will lead to higher productivity and more economic opportunity for people like Gomez. Let's see here. If you make college free, then there's going to be so many degrees floating around that if you want to get a better job, then you're going to need to go and get some supplemental degree, says Brian Kaplan, an economist at George Mason University and author of The Case Against Education. He's skeptical that professors like him have much to offer most students. We're spending too much time and money on education because most of what you learn in school you'll never use after the final exam, says Kaplan. If you just calmly compare what you're studying to what we really do, the connection is shockingly weak. And this connects right to something we've discussed within my own family, with my own brother, in fact. Like, if degrees become super common, then they lose meaning. And pretty soon, everywhere you look for employment is going to need you to have some kind of degree. So a high school diploma will cease to be sufficient. And not everyone has the time to go to college. Not if they have a life with like a wife and a kid or something. Plus, you know, there's no such thing as free. It's going to come from somewhere, and you know it's going to come from tax dollars. So expect a tax rise should they ever actually get this idea passed. But degrees derive their meaning primarily from being uncommon, so that only qualified people can have one. People who actually know what they're talking about, know what they're doing, because they've received solid education. It's really not supposed to be for the common person. So this is a mistake. It's a huge mistake. I understand college debt is a huge problem, but there's got to be a better way to deal with it than this. This is just a problem in and of itself. But Kaplan says most people attend college as a way to signal to prospective employers that they're reasonably intelligent, conscientious, and conformist. The signaling story is mostly that our society says that you're supposed to graduate. And if you're supposed to graduate, the failure to graduate signals nonconformity, says Kaplan. People that are willing to just bite their tongues and suffer through it are the ones who are also going to be good at doing that once they get a job. Kaplan's case rests partly on the so-called sheepskin effect, named for the material on which diplomas were once printed. Studies of the earnings of college graduates reveal that the average salary increase for completing the last year of college is on average more than double that of completing the first three, implying that it's the fortitude to obtain the degree, not the knowledge gain, that explains the boost in compensation. The usual view, called the human capital view, says that basically all of what's going on in schools is that they are pouring useful skills into you, says Kaplan. What I'm saying is that the main payoff you're getting from school is that you're getting certified. You're getting stamped. You are, in other words, getting what you need to convince employers that you are a good bet. Instead of college, Leah Wilczewski, 21, enrolled in Praxis, a one-year job skills program focusing on communication, marketing, and other jobs. Also named for that Klingon moon that blew up in Star Trek VI. Blowed up. It cost $12,000, but included a 6-month paid apprenticeship worth $16,000, meaning she'll finish the program $4,000 in the black. Wilczewski is in the middle of her apprenticeship at Impossible Foods, the Bay Area company that sells a meatless hamburger. This is a much better way to get educated, because this teaches you practical skills. It is less costly, there's less debt, it's shorter, it's more practical, period. In the face of college, a jobs program is far superior. I feel as if being in practice and being able to nail a job that typically requires 4 years of school, if not more, it's like okay with that knowledge, what else can I do, says Wilczewski. After Michael Gemez dropped out of UC Irvine, he enrolled in an auto mechanic trade school while also working at Pep Boys. Then he applied for and received a $12,400 scholarship from Mike Rowe Works, which helps young people looking to enter the skilled trades. From there, he entered a 3-month training program with BMW, and a day after finishing began his job as a high-level technician at BMW of Beverly Hills. Now that I work with cars, I get excited to go to work, says Gemez. I feel like a lot of people, they get surprised when I tell them the amount of money that a mechanic or a technician can make at a dealership. Even though it's possible to acquire the necessary skills to make a good living without attending college, enrollment at 4-year universities has stayed steady for the past 10 years, and an Economics of Education via study by Nicholas Turner found that every dollar of federal and in spending crowds out about 83 cents of institutional aid. Such trends leave Kaplan skeptical that enrollment will fall anytime soon, despite the increasing availability of online alternatives. If you've got that kind of guaranteed customer base where the taxpayers have no choice, and whether or not the money is going to be spent and the government hands it over to you, then you're going to be fine, says Kaplan. As for Wilczewski, she has 2 more months left in an apprenticeship and is hopeful that Impossible Foods will keep her on in the sales department. Gemez hopes that working for BMW is the first step eventually to owning his own shop. Produced by Zach Weissmuller, camera by John. That's the credits. So yeah, free college is a terrible idea because it sets an impossibly high standard for employment for some people. You're literally going to cause the unemployment rate to increase because not everyone is smart enough for these degrees. What are you going to do then? Start lowering the standards, just like you did with public education? You do that, you're literally just going to start making people dumber. Why can't this country's government do education right? Why do they always got to fuck it up? Why? But to further go on, this is what Reason proposes as the solution on how to fix the loan mess. There's a better solution than the ones politicians offer. Student loan debt keeps growing. There's a better solution than the ones politicians offer, which stick the taxpayer or the loan lenders with the whole bill. It's called an income share agreement. Investors give money to a college, and the college then gives a free or partially free education to some students. When the students graduate, they pay the college a certain percentage of their future income. It's a way for the school to say to students, "You're only going to pay us if we help you succeed," explains Beth Akers, co-author of The Game of Loans. Andrew Hoyler was thrilled when Purdue University got him an ISA loan. Now he's a professional pilot, and he'll pay Purdue 8% of his income for 104 months. After the 104-month term ends, if you still owe money, it's forgotten. You didn't owe another penny, he says in my latest video. Now if I find myself in a 6-figure job tomorrow, there's a chance that I'll pay back far more than I took out. Hoyler wouldn't mind that, he says, because of the security of knowing that I'll never have to pay back more than I can afford. What students pay depends partly on what they study. On a $10,000 ISA, English major must pay 4.58% of their income for the 116 months. Math majors, because they are more likely to get higher paying jobs, pay just 3.96% for 96 months. Yes, and if you do get forgiven, don't have to pay your part of the debt, chances are anyone who does, if they make a 6-figure job, they're probably going to become a donor out of a sense of gratitude. A lot of people feel grateful for education when it's done right. But it conveys information to the student about how lucrative a different major is going to be, says Akers. Some think that's unfair, but really that's just a way investors can recapture the money that they've put up. It may also sway students away from majors that don't have job prospects, says Hoyler. ISA recipients learn not only what a career may pay, but how stable it may be, what the future is like. We should invest in students the same way that we invest in startups, says Akers. Share equity. With one difference, the college picks the student so investors don't have a direct relationship with the student. Purdue ISA recipient Paul Aurora told me we don't have the... You know what, screw it, I'm just going to keep going. Purdue ISA recipient Paul Aurora told me we don't know how the investor is, but I'd love to give him a hug or buy him a beer. The institution is saying if I'm operating as the middleman, I can make sure that no one's taking advantage of my students, explains Akers. Sadly, many politicians would rather have the government handle student loans and charge all students the same rate. President Barack Obama signed a student debt relief bill that he claimed would cut out private middlemen, meaning banks. He said that would have taxpayers $68 billion. It didn't cost to taxpayers increased. Some politicians are so clueless that they still blame banks. Of course they do. Could you imagine a Democrat, or hell, even a Republican, actually picking up a book on basic economics? Just picture that in your head and what that looks like. Feels weird, doesn't it? Feels very strange. Because they literally don't do it. But in one hearing, Representative Maxine Waters, chair of the House Financial Services Committee, demanded J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon tell her, "What are you guys doing to help us with the student loan debt?" "We stopped doing all student lending," responded Dimon, pointing out that the government took over student lending in 2010. "Instead of forcing banks out of the loan business, we should get government out of it. Banks are in the business of accessing loan risk. If actual private leaders, people with skin in the game, made loans, then they'd care about being paid back. They tell students which majors might lead to higher paying careers, and warn them that studying sociology or art history or gender studies may make it tough to get out of the debt. But with the government charging the same rate to everyone, students don't have much incentive to think about that." The Brookings Institution found that 28% of students don't even know they have a loan. The market would make better judgments and stop students from starting their adult lives under a burden they may never escape. Yet some people still call ISAs predatory because investors hope for profit. They say ISA makes students indentured servants. It's an interesting claim, but let's keep reading and see what the conclusion will be of this article. L'Aurora had a good answer to that, which is also the serious advice. If you don't have a job, you're not paying anything. Where's the servitude in that? So yeah, I mean, there aren't many really good arguments against the free market. Almost none, when you consider what constitutes a good argument. They're often very shallowed and surface level. They're not really thought through. People don't understand the free market. They don't understand market economics. They barely even understand capitalist theory. An amazing amount of people in this world today just do not understand economics. They think they do. They're delusional enough to believe they do. But trust me, you don't. Anyway, ignore the man that appeared in the video briefly. Anyway, I'm gone. Peace!